Boom. We are back with some new equipment, with another episode. Very juicy topic today. How do you get drugged and robbed in Medellin, Colombia, and survive, and then have to rebuy all your shit? Oh man, it's been crazy journey. Basically the topic for today is I want to share about what happened and also some of the things that came up for me in the process, things that you wouldn't normally expect in this type of situation, like gratitude coming out of nowhere, all of these things, and also like new people that I met as part of this process. And I think it's cool because it shines a light on like the personal, like it gives a more personal view into our lives. And we both agreed on like, this is kind of what we want to talk about more, like really showing in a very vulnerable manner what's going on behind the scenes and not just talk about awareness, how to become enlightened and all that stuff. So I think this is really interesting. And I want to also hear from you if you have any things, like any stories about that to tell, like from your own experience, where something like that happened to you or something similar and what you've experienced in the process. So if you want, because we haven't talked about this yet in depth, I remember you were asking me and I just like sent you a little Cliff Notes audio message. So if you have any questions, maybe you can start and then we kind of like take the viewer through the whole process of what. All right, super quick before we dive into today's content. If you are looking to become a truly high-value man, if you want to become the best version of yourself as a man, the highest potential you can possibly reach in this human form, and you also want to have amazing relationships with other people, with women in particular, if you want to learn how to have thriving, healthy, passionate, deeply fulfilling relationships, then don't forget to subscribe below this video, hit the notification bell so that whenever we post a new video, you will directly be notified. And also like this content if you enjoy it, right? If this resonates with you. And then don't forget to leave a comment, anything that you find valuable, anything you want to share from your own personal experience, post it below the video, and I'll be sure to check it out and respond to you. And then lastly, we do have an exclusive Facebook group, which is also linked somewhere below this video. Go check it out, join the Facebook group. I'll be doing exclusive live calls on there where I'll be sharing some of the most transformational tools that have helped me on my journey, that have helped Leo on his journey, and obviously a lot more stuff that I'll be discovering that I'll be sharing with you only inside the Facebook group. So without further ado, enjoy, and I'll see you there. Peace.
Well, you can start by just basically explaining what happened. So how, why, what the just everything, bro. No, it was crazy because I was messaging you on Telegram and I was seeing these videos like on TikTok from this guy in Cali. I think he's in Cali, and he goes to this really dangerous neighborhood. He's like a tourist, and he just likes to go to this really dangerous place and pretend that it's fine, right? Not pretend, and just have like a fine experience there. And then I messaged you on Telegram about an episode or an edit that we had, and I was like, you never received, right? I was like, what the fuck, man? And you told me that you were sick a few days before, right? That was the last thing that you told me. And then I messaged you again another day. I was like, what the fuck? This motherfucker died? What the fuck happened? And then out of nowhere, you just message saying like, oh, bro, this shit happened here and so on and so forth. So yeah, just walk us through that.
Yeah, so well, I guess the way it started is I was on Tinder and I was just messaging some random girls, and this one girl, like, it seemed kind of pretty on, like she seemed very interested, and I didn't think that was unusual. Like, I kind of stand out here. Like, some girls like find me very attractive because I also like, it's very unusual than what they see here mostly. And so we started messaging and went to WhatsApp like super quickly. I don't know if it was the same day even or the day after. And then we're kind of talking about sexual fantasies. I kind of wanted to see like, what she's into and stuff. And then she didn't want to like bring it up at first. And then she's like, oh yeah, but I actually have this fantasy of like having a threesome. So it's almost like out of the blue at some point, she's like, oh yeah, having a threesome would be interesting, you know? And that's kind of how this idea of like bringing a friend along kind of came in. And I was like, okay, sure. But then, like I told you, I was kind of not feeling well, right? Like my body was going through something. I had diarrhea, like my ass was like exploding. And I was just
Nice.
not feeling that great. I was,
Really important detail.
yes. I was like, I remember the same night I took a video and I was meditating and I was just scanning my body and I'll have to post, maybe I can send you the photo of it and you can weave it into this video. But like a photo of just me sitting there and sweating, like I had sweat all over my face just from like body scanning. I wasn't feeling well, so I messaged the girl. I was like, hey, listen, maybe we have to reschedule, or if you guys want to come over, we can just hang out, you know, like nothing crazy, just hang out, no sex, like I'm really not feeling good. And then the girl, like really sweet, she was like, oh, yeah, it's no problem. Do you want me to bring you something? Do you need something? You know, and I was like, man, that is really thoughtful, really sweet. And then, yeah, so a couple hours later, the girls, like, we meet up outside my place, literally downstairs. Like, so they came straight to my apartment, you know. And we meet up outside my place at this grocery store, walk around into the building. The security guy, like, he's seen me with other women before. Like, he didn't ask for their IDs, nothing. So we just walked in, went straight up to my apartment, and the girls, like, didn't speak a word of English. So I always had to use the translator on my phone to constantly, like, translate back and forth, you know. And to give you, like, more of the the overview first, and then we can dive into specifics. And then we went basically back to my apartment. Like, we had some mango, like, ate some mango, had some little bit of alcohol, like, at first, a little bit, like Bailey's. And then the girls just kept pouring more and more. And then we had, like, music on. I had the laptop there with, like, dancing and shit. And then at some point, I just remember the girls were kind of, like, close to the bed. I don't know why. And I just walked over to the bed and I sat down on my bed, leaned back, and I was like, wow, I'm really fucking tired. Like, fuck, dude, you know? And so I laid back, and I just remember the last thing was, like, I was reaching around to kind of put my arm around one of the girls, and she kind of pushed my arm away, and then boom, blackout. And then the next thing I remember is just sitting in the lobby downstairs with all these police officers asking me random questions, handing me a phone to talk to this person and whatnot. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And also I have some weird recollection of, like, just bouncing into walls. Like, I guess I was walking around and I was so, like, shaky on my feet that I was just bouncing into everything. Like, I couldn't even walk properly. And yeah, and then I think the next day must have been, like, I woke up and all my shit was, like, gone. Like, I woke up, my laptop was stolen, my phone was gone, like, they took charger, laptop, everything. And then I had this little safe in the back too, like a little, it's not even a proper safe, it's like a little box, you know, that you can lock with a key. And next to it, I just see, like, completely, like, broken open, next to it, like, a pair of scissors, a key, a knife, and a fork, right? They broke it open with a pair of scissors, a knife, and a fork, and took everything out of there. My camera, my wallet, my green card, my German credit card, a bunch of cash. I don't even know what else was in there. You know, like, they basically emptied the whole thing, went through my suitcase, like, everything, including stealing my favorite jacket, which was, like, my dad's old jacket, like a purple flashy jacket, and a beanie of mine. And then also on the way out, what they did was they took my favorite candy. They literally went to the thing and just took out my favorite candy with them. And so, yeah, it was pretty, like I guess I was still very sedated, and I didn't even know what they had given me. But not the next day, after all my stuff was stolen, I was like, okay, I couldn't access my bank account. I tried to log in, something wasn't working. But do you have any questions?
Did they also took things from the apartment itself, like from your host, or just your stuff?
Just my stuff.
That's crazy.
And it's interesting, they even left my passport, you know, they didn't take that. A lot of times here, people get their passport stolen as well, but they left my passport, they left my hard drives, which was fortunate. They left. What else did they leave?
They were like, you know, you're kind of cute. I'm not going to give you such a hard time. I'll leave your passport at least here.
Because they did, like, on some level maybe connect with me. They were like, okay, maybe we don't take all your shit, just the shit that we could get a lot of money for. Yeah, so that was kind of like, and then I was still like very sedated, and only because I flew to Miami, and this is kind of what I was launching into. Like, when I realized all this, I was like, okay, so first I need to get all my shit back. Right now, I'm really trapped. I have no access to a phone. Fortunately, actually, there was one more thing that I kept, and that was I have this little pouch, you know, this thing that you wear under your t-shirt, right? It was like it's like a little wallet, but you can put cards, you can put cash in there. And I bought this in Mexico back in the day because I was like, it's much harder for someone to steal that from me than a proper wallet that I carry in my jeans, you know? So I took that, and I remember I was just like, oh, I don't have to leave this out here, you know, like you don't have to tempt someone to steal some shit from you. So I took it and put it underneath, high under some like pair of blankets or whatever. So the girls never checked there. So fortunately, that thing was still there, which contained my bank card from Bank of America, my personal ID, and a little bit of cash. That was it. But I still had that. So I tried to log into my bank account, and I tried to get through to them, and I could not for any, like, I tried every single thing because with the bank that I'm with, they have a verification code that they send to your phone number. That's the only way for them to verify you. Now, the problem was the two phone numbers on file. One of them was like a monthly number that I had that ran out in December last year. So it was already recycled in their system, then there was no way of getting that number back. The second number was a Mexican number that I bought back in the day in Mexico because it was so cheap. I paid like $100 for 2 years of service, you know, it was amazing. And I kept the number, and then the problem was, though, with that bank, you can't put the Mexican country code in it. So they basically took the rest of the number, and then they assumed it was a US number, so they put a +1 in front. So it was not actually my real number, and I could never verify it. I never verified it, you know? And so eventually then I was like, okay, let me find the guy who has the Mexican number, you know, so I can reach out to him. Maybe he can get the code. So I eventually found the guy, and I kept messaging him. He read all my messages, never responded. And I was like, dude, please, I need your help. And then eventually he agreed to help me. And then it hit me, and I was like, shit, it's the wrong country code. So then after that, bro, it was like I spent days like trying to figure this stuff out. And then after I called, I called all these random phone companies in the US. I was like, who owns this number? Like, I need to buy this number somehow or find the person who owns it. So it was buried in some kind of archive of like, I don't even know, some T-Mobile branched off sort of service. And they also couldn't recover the number. So I was like, fuck, I really need to fly to Miami now just so I can get my bank account unblocked, you know? So I decided to do that. I had to borrow some money from Stephanie in order to go there. Like, I didn't, because I had no money, I had no access to any money. My German credit card was stolen, like everything blocked.
But so wait, the next day when they took everything, you blocked all of your shit, or someone did that for you? Because you said, I remember you saying that they called your father and they said that they had you and they asked for money. And so, yeah, I think that would be also interesting for you to explain. Like, did your parents actually thought that they kidnapped you? What happened there?
Yeah, I guess I missed that part. So let's go back to more like the beginning. But yeah, what happened was my dad, I guess, received messages. Actually, everyone in my family. It was like screenshots. I can also send them to you, and you can weave them into the video like as an overlay, so you can show a few what they were saying in German. They just translated some of the messages like into German, and then they said, hey, we have Martin. If you don't pay a ransom, we're gonna kill him. And because they used the word killed.
How much they asked for?
I don't know if they asked for 1,000 or something. And
$1,000 bucks for your life, bro.
I know. and then they went from killing to hurting him. And I think I talked to my sister, and at some point she was like, you don't even have Martin. Like, you don't even, like, you can't do anything to him. And the person was like, yes, apparently. Like, how stupid. I don't know. Maybe there was some miscommunication. Maybe I could have, like, if they actually had me, maybe I would have died. But, like, obviously here in the building, like, that wasn't possible because I have security in the building. So anyone coming in and out, the security person at the reception desk has to push a button for the door to open. So it's like you can't get in and out without, like, being seen. Like, not possible. And, like, carrying me out of here, 2 girls, also wouldn't have happened. But basically, yeah, they reached out to my family. They were like, okay, we're going to extort money from them. And obviously they took my stuff, trying to sell that too. But nobody paid anything. So my dad at 3 a.m. called the BKA, like the German police. And then this whole unit got assembled, like some kidnapping, whatever unit. It was like massive. I didn't know what happened behind the scenes, but I was called by this BKA officer here in Bogota, in Colombia. And he was telling me like everything that went down, like this entire unit that got mobilized because they threatened to kill me, like because it looked like a kidnapping situation. And so, yeah, man, the whole thing just like fucking blew up. And I just remember going to the police station, giving them a report. But I was still, for a few days, I was still kind of like really groggy and probably sedated. And when I flew to Miami, that's when I found the little evidence. I'm not going to get up right now. I have it like on the shelf here. But in my toiletry bag, I found this little, like a little flask, you know, of like, I think it's called tramadol. It's like some heavy sedative that you normally get like a painkiller or sedative, like after very invasive surgeries, you know, that you can take orally. So what I think the girl did is she at some point took my drink, went to the bathroom, and it was a little weird because I was sitting here on the couch and I was like, why does she take her backpack into the bathroom with her? Like it's kind of weird a little bit, you know? And she went into the bathroom for a while. And then when she came back, I didn't notice anything different. Only when I then flew to Miami, I was like going through my toiletry bag, just taking the essential stuff. And I was like, what is this? And it was all in Spanish all in there. It's like, I didn't buy this shit. Like, what the fuck? And then I looked it up. And that's how I found out, like, what it was. And I think that's kind of how they knocked me out. Like, what they put in my drink.
Yo, bro, that shit is crazy. Okay, so basically, they didn't use your card and didn't use your money in your bank then. So at least you...
No, they did, actually. But I didn't even know that. So the thing is, when I flew to Miami, all I knew was that my German card was blocked. So as soon as the BKA found out, they blocked the card because they didn't know if that card was stolen, like it wasn't clear yet. So they had blocked my German bank account, so nothing was stolen from there. But with the US one, because I had added my card to Apple Pay so they could use it with the tapping, whatever, they were able to do some kind of transaction to, I don't know, open IA solutions in Armenia. In fucking Armenia, dude. And I couldn't even see that because at the bank, like when I was in Miami and they looked into my account, nobody was able to access my account until I was there in person. So it was already been several days since the incident. And then I went to the bank and they were like calling fraud department and I still hadn't seen my account. So I was like, I don't know, like, are these fraudulent transactions? Like, fuck, I don't know. You know, but I found out that 2 transactions went off in total, like maybe $1,300, like $1,300.
It's quite a lot, actually, without ping and anything like that.
But the rest was still there. Like, I was literally under the impression when I borrowed the money from Stephanie, I was like, fuck, if I go there right now, maybe my bank account is at 0. Maybe even overdrawn. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the heck they were doing, you know? So I was thinking maybe I lost all the money and then I just have to pay now to go to Miami on top of that when I have no more money. And the one thing was I was fortunate to be able to use my card to buy a new phone. So that was the last transaction I was able to make with my own card. And after that, the account was frozen and I couldn't get through. And that's when I went to Miami to get it unblocked. But, yeah, so long story short, they were able to make some transactions, and I I reached out to the bank to see if I can get this back. But yeah, man, it was a crazy ride. And then because they stole my green card when I tried to enter the US, I had a tourist visa in my passport. And I thought, well, I don't have my green card, but the tourist visa is still valid, so I can just go in there. And I go to the border, and the person is like, so what are you here for? As a tourist? And I was like, tourist, yeah, but also my green card was stolen. So you're not a tourist, And then this whole thing like went down, and they took me into detention for 2 hours to kind of like figure out if they're going to let me into the country. And I was like, shit, dude, I just really need to get in to get my bank unblocked. I was so stranded here. And there were moments where I was just sitting there crying, and we can also put this in the video. I'll send you some pictures. I was just sitting here crying, and I was like, fuck, I don't speak the language. I have no laptop. I have no phone right now. Like, I don't even know what to do. Like, what do I need to do first, And I was like, no access to a bank account. Like, I was just, fuck, like, I'm stranded here now, I didn't know my parents' phone numbers by like, I couldn't even call them. Like, I had no access to any apps, because one of the first things they did is they changed my Apple ID. And I think the girls, they saw my passcode, or maybe they even used my finger or something. Like, I don't know, like how they unlocked it. But basically, they changed the Apple ID and locked me out of the whole thing. So I lost all my contacts, all the apps, etc. I had to create a new account and gradually find my way back into the contacts. And
so I guess the first person that then you reached out was this girl that you borrowed money from.
Yeah, I basically showed up to her apartment because I didn't have her number either. So I was like, hey, listen, this is what happened. Can you lend me some money so I can buy a laptop? And then once I had the laptop and my phone, I was able to, I think the BKA office, someone sent me my dad's number. I don't know how, like they gave me his phone number. And so I was talking to my dad, then I had the laptop, I had my phone, and I tried to get into my email accounts. And on the main one, I had two-step verification enabled, so I needed some other, and it was like, man, you have no idea. I had my dad in Germany because when I left, I still had another laptop. So I had two laptops at the time. One really old one that wasn't really working well, some Windows Asus computer. And I left it there. I was like, I don't need to take it. And so then I asked my dad to go into it and help me through some of the apps on there to get into some of the accounts. And that kind of like actually saved me. Like my dad trying, and it was like funny because he was holding his phone, like looking at, and I'm like, Dad, I can't see anything. Like, some like old person holding a phone trying to show you something on the screen. It's just like, Dad, you have to like go a little bit to the right. And yeah, man, fuck. And then in Miami too, when I was there, like I made it to the bank. I almost didn't get an appointment. I flew in for 2 days. I was like, it's going to be in and out. So I fly in there and I was like, all right, first thing I did after the detention at the US, the airport in Miami, I went straight to the bank. I was like, all right, I need to get an appointment. The lady's like, sorry, we have no more appointments. We're fully booked. And I was like, please, I really need, like I explained the whole situation to her. And she's like, okay, let me see what I can do. You have to wait though. So I waited for another hour. Eventually this lady comes. She's like, okay, I'll help you. So first we looked into my account, like got the card unblocked, all that worked. I saw, okay, the money is still there. And so I got the appointment. Then I had to order more cards because the fraud department blocked my card that I had completely. So that card was basically useless. And then I was like, shit, now I need to get a new card, but I'm leaving in 2 days again. How am I going to get the new card in time? So she tried to put express delivery in. I actually did that into the system. And then I wasn't sure if the card's going to arrive on time. I finished some other stuff. The next day I had to come back to kind of order another card, a credit card, like do the whole spiel again. I had an appointment this time. And then I also went to the Best Buy to buy a camera, which is from which you're seeing this video from now. Like this is not the same old camera that was stolen from me. This is the same one, but like that I bought in the US. And so the day that I left the hostel, I remember like I called, I think it was UPS, to get to reach the driver because I got a notification that my car is going to be delivered by 7 p.m., which is literally like the very last stop, you know, for them to do in a day. Like 7 p.m. is the last slot. And then I was like, shit, my flight leaves at 5:30 p.m. Like, no way I'm going to get this card, you know? And then someone has to ship it to me from the US. And the thing is, what we did is because I stayed at a hostel, because I was like, man, if my bank account is at zero, I cannot spend even more money to get like a nice place. I have to go really cheap. Because if my bank account is at zero, I'm losing all this money right now that I don't even have. So I booked this hostel for like $80 for 2 nights. And the address that we put in at the bank was the hostel, so that the card was sent in express to the hostel, which means after I had left, there was like, you know, all these people that could receive my card. And I was like, shit. So on the last day on Friday, I borrowed this girl's phone that I met at the hostel, and I just called UPS like 5 times. I was like, okay, where's the driver? I didn't get a notification. Can you reach out to them? Da-da-da. And then eventually, on the last day, the girl had to leave, so I lost access to her number. So they had no way of reaching me under a US number, you know, because I had my Colombian number, so there was no way to get a hold. And they were like, just give me a number. And I just picked this random guy who only spoke Spanish at the apartment. I put his number in. He couldn't tell me. I wasn't sure. Can his number receive calls from the US? And later I found out, no, that was the last day he couldn't get any calls in the US. Like, he needed to upgrade his plan the next day. And I was like, man, that's perfect. So they couldn't get a hold of me. So I'm sitting in the back of the hostel. It was like 2:30 or whatever p.m. And I was like, I have to leave to the airport in like 30 minutes. And then this guy, as I walk out to go to the front, this guy walks in with a little like package thing in his hand. And I was like, oh shit, dude, is this package for you? And he's like, nah, winter. And I was like, no way, dude. So me calling like 5 times, they eventually got through to them and pushed the driver to come by on time. And the guy was outside in that moment to receive the package. Had he not been outside, the driver would have probably taken him back with him again. And I was like, see, this is like, that's not luck. Like, all these things coming together, and this is kind of what we go into in the second part, like, that's not serendipitous, but like the way everything unfolded, crazy, dude, crazy.
Right. Wow. What a fucking ride, bro. Like, I feel the pain even when I change my computers or cell phone. You know, you just need to re-log in on apps and receive the code and put, and bro, just that alone is already a big thing for me to not buy new things. I'm like, nah, whatever. I'll just keep using the same phone. I'll just keep using the same computer, just because I know how painful it's going to be, the banks and all of that, the numbers that I had when I was traveling and I used to connect to the bank and so on and so forth. Man, it's crazy that you had to just solve all of this shit in like 2 days, 3 days, go to US, no money. It's, yeah, fucking crazy, man.